All right. Good afternoon, dads married to doctors. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Curtis Webster. I'm excited to bring you this month's Facebook Live talking about a topic that is so near and dear to our heart. As you all know, when I started up DMD back in 2014, we're 7 years in, about to go into the eighth year. In December, the whole idea was to figure out ways that we could live what we call this DMD lifestyle best. And that's doing things like what we're doing today, sitting down with coaches that can help us learn how to be a better man, how to be a better husband, and like today, how to be a better father. And so I'm excited to have you all join us for this DMD Plus exclusive interview that we're sharing here with the whole main Dads Married to Doctors group. And I introduce you to parenting coach, Drew Tupper. Drew, welcome.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it. Appreciate you and your group. And I love that you guys are striving to be the best men, husbands, and fathers that you can be. It's really important work.
And we figured if it's got to be done, we might as well step up and do it, right? Be the men in the relationship.
And it feels good to do it.
It does, right? Especially when you can do something with a plan and a purpose. And I know we're going to talk about that today. So with that, let me kick it off appropriately, since today is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. So we are going to be talking about Jedi parenting, learn some amazing, I don't even want to call it a parenting hack, because it's more than just a quick fix or just a quick, something to get a temporary result. What we're going to talk about today is, like in The Mandalorian, this is the way. And we're going to try and figure out how we can actually work on our mindsets, work on improving who we are, so that as we get into these hard situations, we can actually make better choices in the moment. So Drew, let me ask you, are you a Star Wars fan?
I was when I was young in the 1980s, for sure. had some figurines, and I have renewed my interest in it recently with my son. He's 12.
Nice.
So he's watching all the videos.
There you go. I'm like you, Drew. I watched it a little bit growing up, and all the movies as they came out, especially the original ones. But I kind of fell off. It was never my big thing, as you see from our logo and everything. I'm a superhero kind of enthusiast. So Batman and as you can see from the logo, Superman, definitely Marvel. So I was more in the vein of watching those movies. But when they brought it out to Disney Plus with The Mandalorian and some of these series, it definitely kind of renewed that interest in that whole galaxy far away.
Yeah, for sure.
So no, it was exciting. So I tell you, one of the things for me, especially with like The Mandalorian, I love how it kind of approached this idea of fatherhood can come at any time, whether you're ready for it or not. I looked at him as a bounty hunter and what he was doing, and how normally he wouldn't get any kind of attachment to his bounties, to the things, the people he's trying to catch. He would just turn them over, put them in that little locker, freeze them, in and out, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But then all of a sudden he's got this little baby Yoda that he finds himself, being responsible for. And like I said, for me, that just really, and I think for a lot of guys, it really translated into fatherhood and just some of the messages of being that protecting figure and even kind of setting that example.
Yeah, that translates for me, for sure, because having my first child was a surprise. Like it was a bit of a surprise pregnancy. We weren't planning on it. We were, essentially just living our lives, and then, okay, here we go, time to be parents. And similar to The Mandalorian, I felt myself really drawn to this new small little creature,
right,
in my home. And I definitely had these conversations with myself, like, what do I do now? How do I take care of this child? Like, who do I need to be to best lead by example for this child? So, and I wasn't asking those questions a year before.
Right.
So this is a total game changer. Having kids totally changed me. I think it's changed me for the better. It's helped me think beyond myself.
Right.
Helped me think of how I can help and serve and raise my kids and think about what's in their best interest. So it's helped me become less selfish, more humble, and more concerned with the well-being of other people, and to be honest, like the future of the world,
Right.
because how we raise our kids matters, right? Like our kids, they become the future.
That's right.
They, they become our future society. So how we raise our kids at home really has an impact.
It makes a huge difference. That's something I talk about so much is legacy. And I think it's so huge. We with my family on my mom's side, we're actually about to celebrate our 75th annual family reunion. And so my family there in Tennessee has been getting together. It started off on my, great grandmother's birthday. And so for the last 75 years, we've been getting together to celebrate birthdays, celebrate, the fun times, and really to ultimately to celebrate legacy. And I think that's, like you said, that's what it's all about. How can we set ourselves up, set our families up to live their best life? So,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've been a parent coach for almost 5 years now, and that's the one thing that keeps on coming up again and again. Every parent wants that. I don't talk to any parent who's like, well, it doesn't really matter, what my kid does or how they do it. I don't really care. No, it's not at all. I want my kid to live their best life. I really care about them. I want to set them up for success. I want them to be happy, healthy, whole. Every parent that I talk to.
that's exactly right. So, Drew, I know you were saying that the first, came as a little bit of a surprise, but take us back in time. So let us know your family structure, how that is now, and then take us into those early days of parenting.
Yeah, man, we were in this like 1-bedroom apartment, very small, and I was doing a job that I, didn't really like, and I wouldn't say we were struggling necessarily, but not. I don't think we were thriving. It was just picture adding a baby to that mix. So now we're inside of a small apartment, and now we have a little baby who's crying lots, and I'm in an apartment, so I'm worried about everybody else. And also, like I wasn't emotionally ready for it.
Right.
We sometimes talk about getting financially ready, for our kids, and to get ready to prepare our finances to give them what they need. And I was further behind in my emotional preparedness, to be honest.
Right.
That's where I struggled the most, because right away, like, literally day one, I was shocked by the amount of noise this child made. And, and like
Yes.
the crying and the yelling and the screaming and the lack of sleep, nothing could have prepared me for that. I was not ready for that. I was not ready for the impact of that kind of chaos on my nervous system. I was just like, whoa.
Right.
So I would say the first couple of years, I was just in shock a little bit, like, lack of sleep. I felt like my patience was wearing thin.
Mm-hmm.
I could be like, I could have like some angry outbursts, and not to mention, so that was just the impact of the baby and his presence. And I was trying my best to have perspective. Trust me, I was trying to be like, yes, this is a baby. We need to love the baby. And I was doing a lot of that, but I have to be honest that it was hard. It was hard for me. And what was also hard was how the relationship with myself and my wife changed.
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
changed dramatically. And it makes sense. Obviously, it makes sense, but it was still a surprise, and no one really prepared me for it. No one pulled me aside and said, I just want to let you know this is what's going to happen probably. This kid's going to come into your home, make a lot of noise, and displace you, and he's going to get a lot of attention, and you're going to be in a support role supporting people, and you might have to take a back seat
Right.
to all of this, and your connection with your wife might suffer for these, I don't know, couple years. So that was hard for me, on on top of the stress of having like a loud, I think you might have called him colicky baby.
Okay. Yep.
Definitely strong-willed, big voice. That combined with the relationship challenges and trying to connect with my wife and it just being very different, I just have to admit that I personally found it very challenging. Obviously, things have gotten better.
Right.
I dug into it. I paid attention to what was going on, and I really sunk my teeth into it. Okay, this is my reality now. This is what's going on. We had a second child, and there was a bit more of that, a bit more of, okay, we got another kid here now. So now we got to pay all the attention to her. So I have two kids, a boy and a girl. But I mean, I suppose if there's any young families here, the older dads with older kids probably know what I'm talking about. They're probably nodding their head going, yeah, nobody told me that stuff either.
Yeah.
So for the young parents here, I want to let you know it does get better. Things do relax. You know, there's less chaos. You can come back to finding more connection with your wife. Things do get better, but it's hard to see in those moments.
No, that's amazing. And I, like you said, I think it's good to have that reminder and get that perspective, because it's so easy to forget it in the midst of the sleeping at 2 and 3 hours at a stretch and waking up to crying every few hours and all those different things, especially in the early days. So
yeah, so my kids now are 9 and 12.
9 and 12. Okay. And y'all have been married for how long?
You know, I think my wife and I have been together for 20, maybe 21 years this July, but we will be married 16 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, man. Yeah, we're in June. We're gonna be celebrating, I think, 17 years somewhere, and I got to go back and do the math.
Yeah. And you know what, man? It's probably better than ever right now between my wife and I. We've had our challenges. Like I said, I mentioned the early days. We've had some more challenges. It's marriage, right? Like,
that's right.
It's not some easy walk in the park, right? It's marriage. It's real. It takes some work. And so, but I would say now more than ever, we are in a great place. Things are good. I feel connected. Intimacy is good. Communication is great. And I feel lucky that we made it here. I feel lucky that we put the work in and we stuck together. And now I think we're reaping the rewards.
That's awesome. That is good stuff.
Yeah.
So what was that transition like for you? Because I know you have a book that just came out. What was the book? A year old now?
Yeah, that's right.
So you have the book that just came out, parenting for a peaceful home, how to overcome anger and lead by a loving example. So how did you go from, like you said, being thrown into the amazingness, the craziness of being a brand new father? I know you were an educator. I don't know if you're an educator at that time, but I know you were teaching, I believe science. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so what was that process like of being thrown into parenthood? You know, you have these two kids, a boy and a girl. You're teaching other kids, and I don't know what ages, but you can share that in a moment. And so what was that process of going from parenting your own kids to teaching kids to now working with other parents and adults on how to be better parents?
Well, you know what's funny is that whenever I worked with other kids, like I was skillful. I'm pretty skillful, like when it was somebody else's kid.
Right.
You know, I brought a professional attitude to it. And then we go home and we have the behind closed door phenomenon.
Yeah.
Where I lose some kind of maturity or skillfulness in my dealings with children. I could even have a neighbor's kid come over and I would treat that child differently, more respectfully. I'd be more patient. And so that I observed that. I made that observation in my life, and I thought to myself, well, don't my kids deserve the best of me? Don't they deserve my patience and my maturity, all the skills that I have from working with kids? Right. Don't they deserve that? And that's I observed that, and I thought to myself, yes, they do deserve that. In fact, like, it's funny how sometimes at home our kids get the worst of us.
Right.
They get the leftovers. They get the what's left from a parent being stressed, and we take it out on our kids, which is like kind of the opposite of the way it should be. So I was aware of myself. I observed my own behavior. I thought to myself, this anger, this impatience, this reactivity is not the best thing for this home environment. It's not the best thing for the development of my kids. And I just had to be real with myself. Like, there's no other way. I just had to be honest with myself, because if I kept on kidding myself, what's going to happen? What's going to happen 2, 3 years into parenting, 5, 10, 12 years into parenting? If I keep on convincing myself that I'm allowed to act differently at home than I am out in the world, what's going to happen to the development of my kids?
That's right.
And so, like, I just made that connection, and I got really real with myself, and I tried not to shame myself, which is difficult.
Right.
I tried to focus on, okay, so what do we need to do here? What do I have to bring to this so that I improve the way I'm dealing with my kids? I become a better parent, almost like I am out in the world, in leadership roles out in the world. And so this is what I came to. Like, it's about mindset. You know, I just had a different mindset at home, that I was allowed to act however I wanted, that the same rules didn't apply to me. And, you know, maybe my kids deserved my anger in some way. Maybe they brought it on. So I was thinking differently. And so, and that was the big difference. That was the big difference, was that mindset. I had like a professional, mature mindset out in the world, and at home I had like this, I don't know what you'd call it, reactive, impatient, entitled, angry mindset. And so, so what I did, and I can invite you guys to do something right now if you'd like. If guys watching this, guys right now on this call, this is something that I did that really helped. And you can do this for any age of child, but it's really powerful for kids that are younger, but you can still do it if you have older kids.
Right.
So let's say, so this is like a visioning exercise. It'll just take 2 minutes.
Okay.
And this will help you get an idea of where you want to go and what mindset will be most helpful for you. So let's imagine it's 5 or 10 years in the future, or even let's imagine this: your kids are like emerging adults. They're about to leave your home to go out into the world and leave the nest, right? So in a way, your at-home parenting is done. And let's say things went really well. Let's say you're happy, and you thought to yourself, and you look at your partner and you say, hey, we did it. We did it. We did the things that we wanted to do. We're proud of who our kids are. We're really happy with the way this turned out. And this was a success. Our parenting was a success.
Right.
So now, let's say that's the situation. How would you know it was a success? If you're looking at your kids, you're looking at who they are, who they become, maybe you're looking at the relationship. What indication do you have that it was a success?
Okay. Those measuring sticks.
What does it mean for you? What does success mean for you? And it might be a little bit different for each dad here. Right. But that's the question I want to ask you, is what does success mean for you? What would you see about those kids? Who would they be? What kind of influence would you have had on them? What kind of lessons would they have learned? What kind of relationship would you have had? So
I love that.
Do you have any idea of what your answers could be for that? A couple?
Yeah, and guys that have joined us, Chris, Jesse, Matt, Travis, if y'all want to jump in, y'all can as well. But yeah, Drew, it's funny because that's one of those things that I try and think about. Like we talk about legacy. You know, I want my girls to be successful. She said whatever that's supposed to mean. But what I really want to see is I want them to be at a place where they're happy. I want them to be at a place where they're happy with their choices, that they feel confident in their ability to accomplish the different things that they want to do. When people ask them right now, you know, quote unquote, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, they have this laundry list of things that they want to do. And I want them to keep that. I don't want them to feel like they have to be in a box and just be a baker or just be a dancer, that you can be a president, scientist, you know, baker, and do all these great things. So for me, them living a fulfilled, happy life and going down a path that they feel is going to bring them value would do that for me.
Wonderful. I love that. A lot of parents want the same thing. Like, we want our kids to be fully expressed, happy, confident. I love that. Do any of the other guys want to chime in?
So
Yeah,
Curtis
I'll
is
echo that.
better than my. Oh, sorry.
No, go.
Sorry, Chris. Curtis's was better than mine. It was very well expressed. But when you said that, the first thing that came to mind was some sort of professional outcome. Like I'll know that I succeeded in raising my kids well if they're able to go out into the world and, you know, do well in life, which presumably means they do better than I did, like straight out of college, which is maybe setting kind of a low bar, but that was the first thing that came to mind for me. Was
Okay,
That's good.
professional success.
And Chris? Hey, good. Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go. I just want them to be happy.
Yeah.
Success, I think, is such a weird term, and it means so many different things to so many different people. I want them to be happy and happy with what they're doing in their life. And I think if I can help them do that, I've succeeded.
awesome. And you're right, by the way. It does mean different things to different people. Which is why it's good to ask the question: what does parenting success mean for you? And for Chris, it straight up, it sounds like, no questions asked. It means I want them to be happy.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I would say probably for me, similar along lines as you guys, but responsible people, show respect for others, and then most importantly, probably be happy, like Chris said.
Wonderful.
Responsible.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, responsible, right? That makes sense too. That makes sense to me.
Whatever that looks like, that may be, I mean, that's a very open term, but yeah.
Yeah, so some themes we're getting here is definitely happy, able to express themselves, pursue their interests, capable to do those things in the world on their own. And then we have this idea of like responsibility. I like that one. I agree with that one. Like a child who grows up not just thinking of him or herself, but his impact in the world, and is aware of other people. I think that's a great thing too. So here's the thing. Who do you have to be in your interactions with your kids so that is most likely to happen? Now, obviously there are other variables involved, but what you have control over is your interaction with your kids. And so you can skew it one direction or the other. So who do you have to be? How do you show up so that you give your kid the best chance of knowing herself and expressing herself, let's say? Or who do you have to be so that your kids are respectful to other people? Who do you have to be? Because they learn from your example, right? That's one of the strongest forms of teaching, is the example that the parent sets. Who do you have to be if you want your kids to be happy? Could you be a miserable person doing miserable work? Would that lead you toward this idea of success for helping your kids be happy? It might happen. They still might be happy. But I think, personally, the question of who do we have to be in our interactions with our kids is a great question, because it sets the groundwork for how we show up with our kids, what kind of mindset we bring to the parenting. So I'll ask that question right now. In this reflection of who do you have to be, do you have any ideas of who you have to be, how you have to show up if you want that thing for your child? We can start with you, Curtis.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I know for me, it's funny because when you mentioned with your first coming along, how one of the first things you noticed was the noise and the lack of patience. Those were some of the first things that came open for me as well, was this needing to recognize that yeah, I was, for me as well, I realized that I was selfish, that I wanted things the way that I wanted them, when I wanted them. If I wanted to be able to go out and watch a movie, I enjoyed that freedom of being able to go out and do all those different things. And so when I was looking at, like you said, who I needed to change to become in order to provide for this little human, there was definitely a laundry list of things I started to notice that I needed to be more purposeful about changing for myself.
Yeah, thank you. And I can give you an example from my life. So, and I think it's similar to the other guys, similar to what the other guys said here. So we want our kids to feel good about themselves and to feel happy, to feel like they matter, to have self-confidence.
Right.
Right. So one of the big ways we can miss this, or it's not fully understood yet, is how we pay attention to our kids. You and I were talking about this earlier. Presence. So what can happen sometimes with a child whose parents didn't really pay attention to him, or when he asked for attention, the parent was like, yeah, well, not right now. Oh, I can't play right now. No, no, can you do it by yourself? Like
Right.
this energy of like, I'm too busy. So what can happen is a child, if they get exposed repeatedly to this energy of the parent, which I'm too busy, I can't play with you, I can't pay attention to you, not right now, just in a minute, not right now. What could that child start to think?
Right.
Right? I'm not very important, because the most important people in that child's world are the parents.
That's right.
And the attention or presence we give to the kid tells them, essentially through body language and presence, how important they are.
No, I love that. I love that. So Drew, let me ask you this, because there is that real piece. So for instance, my 6-year-old, about to be 7 here at the end of the month, she it's funny because she took so long to start talking because she had 2 older sisters that never gave her an opportunity. They were always talking for her, so it took her a while to get started. But man, once she started, she's definitely making up for lost time. So when you have these situations, because like you said, you want to place that value, you want to give them that sense, that presence, and that sense of value. So what are some ways, and what I love about the conversations you and I have is it's not just the theoretical, but there's also these practical aspects.
Yes.
So when my 6-year-old comes up to me and I am legitimately busy and I know that I'm not going to give her the attention that she wants or needs at this moment, what is a way that I can respect her emotional needs, but also let her know that it is not, a good time right now, that I can't focus.
Yeah. And also achieve your parenting goal, if it is, to help her feel confident.
Right.
Because I want my kids to grow up confident and feel like they matter. And they tend to learn that at home.
That's right.
So great question. Parents, do have things to do. We have laundry, we have cleanup, we got food to make, we have to drive kids to places, schedules, we have our own work. I mean, it's busy. So there's two things I can recommend. If you find yourself generally overwhelmed, busy, or anxious, and you can probably determine that by your energy. Does it feel like your energy's up here? Does it feel like you're not getting much rest? Do you have a fast-paced voice? You know, are you hurrying? If you're kind of buzzing with this kind of fast-paced energy, there's a likelihood that like you might be too busy, but could be overstimulated, right? And there could be an anxious energy coming out of you, and so that tends to get in the way of focus. It makes it really tough to focus.
Sure does.
When we're carrying that kind of energy. So the one thing I recommend, and I don't know what this will sound like to dads, but taking care of that energy, taking care of yourself, finding ways to relieve some of the pressure, finding ways to reconnect with yourself and slow down so that your baseline level of stress is reduced. That will give you more bandwidth to deal with and be present with your kids and your family. So that's one thing.
Yep.
And I know that it's cliche to say, but self-care matters, if only from the perspective of being able to reduce this baseline level of stress so that you can function more optimally, right, in all aspects of your life, work, relationship, parenting. Okay, the second thing is a practical, in the moment kind of skill. Kid comes up to you, dad, 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 right? Like rapid fire, and you're in the middle of something. So this is the way that we teach patience, impulse control, delayed gratification, while still honoring their presence, still loving them. Okay, the child comes up, maybe it's a young child, she hasn't quite learned patience and impulse control yet. So we don't yell at her, we don't dismiss her, we actually take a break from the thing that we're doing. We turn towards her and we say, hello, sweetie, hello. I give her 100% of my attention. I take a break from the thing that I'm doing. It's over here. I'm looking at her. Hello, sweetie. How can I help you? Right? And she's like, wow, I got all of his attention. And then she's like, I want you to help me get the basketball from the top shelf in the garage. Okay, yes, I can help you with that. Notice I'm just saying yes. Yes, I can help you with that. No problem, I got you. You want to get the basketball from the top shelf in the garage? I'm going to help you. Okay, here's the deal. I've got 10 more minutes on my computer right now. When I'm done, 3:30, I'll meet you 3:30 in the garage. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll see you then. Maybe I give her a hug or a kiss.
I like it.
Right? That took less than a minute.
Right.
But it bought me 10 uninterrupted minutes, hopefully, as she learns.
Right.
And as she learns to trust me that I'm going to come. Please, if you do this approach, do not turn it into 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour. You got to do what you say that you're going to do.
That's good.
So 10 minutes happens, you go to the garage, you help her, and you say, hey, you did it. You waited 10 minutes. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. That helps me. So you're reinforcing that the learning.
I love that. Affirmations, the gratitude, the like you said, the getting across of those values that you're trying to implore versus hey dear, I'm almost done, give me a few more minutes, not even looking at her when I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or even like this, like I don't have my phone on me right now because pretend this is a phone,
Right.
but you're like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, give me 1 minute.
It's I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like this idea, and guys that are on here on the call, I know we had a couple more to pop in from DMD Plus. So fellas, if you have a question, go ahead and turn your screen on, and I'll jump to you. But I love that, Drew. It's this whole idea, the what is it, the 7 habits, the starting with the end in mind. So if I know that I'm trying to teach that patience, teach that showing of value, and so on and so forth, there's a way that I can do that and still show that I have something that I'm working on.
Exactly. It's all about teaching. We can want things for our kids. We want to help them get to a certain place. That's okay. But the best way to do it is through teaching rather than impatience and judgment and punishment. This is what I found. If we teach, if we guide, if we show what to do, much more effective.
No, I love that. I think that makes so much sense, and it helps, and it's something, like you said, we can do it at all levels. Travis, did you have a question or comment?
No, I'm just listening.
Taking it all in, right?
I'm just listening. I mean, it's like I hear him when he says like be kind of present. So like I got a sick 5-year-old today. He woke up with a temperature of 100. But I mean, I got a house going up. I got to go get stuff. So I had a sick 5-year-old with me in Lowe's. So I'm like, he's like, Daddy, how much wood are you going to buy? I'm like, okay, this is how much wood I'm buying. These are the 2x4 I need. This is the OSB I need. Just trying to keep him involved and engaged. It feels like I'm not ignoring him.
Right.
Even though like my mind is on like all this stuff I got to go get.
That is a difficult thing to do when you actually have a job to do and you got to bring your child with you. That's a tough balancing act. And I think you did a good job. And one of the things that can help us with that is the thing that I mentioned first, which is if you got stress in your life, try and do things to bring it down. Well, what do we know that brings it down? We know that exercise brings it down. Connecting with friends brings it down. What else? Meditation, a creative outlet, other kinds of movement. For some people, music. So if we can lower that background level of stress, then in those difficult situations where you're balancing more than one things, you'll have more bandwidth, because somebody who is highly stressed and then you put them in a stressful situation where they've got to balance a couple things, what can likely happen is the kid loses, the kid gets snapped at, the kid gets shut down or ignored. That's usually what happens when the parent gets overwhelmed, can't handle it anymore, too much stress, there's an overload.
Exactly.
And where does that energy usually go?
Yep, goes into the family.
So, right. And a lot of the time towards the kids, they become like a lightning rod for the parents' frustration, and they don't really deserve it.
Right.
Because it's just like the parents overloaded. The parents overloaded with stress, and the child is like the closest thing where that energy can go.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a balancing act. So, and I like the idea too. Travis, like Drew was saying, to your credit, I think it's great that you were able to get him involved. Kind of like a take your kid to work day. And like you said, we've all had it. Get the call from school. Oh, so and so's got a temperature, but then the kid's bouncing off the walls, acting perfectly fine. So we know how that goes. And now he gets an opportunity to hang out with dad and see what you're doing, and out in the world. So sounds like you found a way to turn it into a positive.
Very skillful. Yeah,
and I know, man, that's the thing that is taking years. Mine are 12, 8, and 5. And so it's just, it's something actually I noticed the other day. It's like with my 12-year-old, he got assigned making his own lunch at the beginning of the school year. I'm like, dude, you're 12. I will put your entree in a thermos. but everything else you get yourself. But now it's like, you know, I've involved the 8 and the 5-year-old. I'm like, okay, guys, pick out the side things you want for your lunch, and you know, let's get it all together. And so I found that involving them in the mornings actually makes my morning smoother.
There you go. It's not a
Yes.
fight, right?
So if Travis wants his kids to be capable and self-sufficient later in life, that's one of his parenting goals, which, by the way, I think it should be for everybody, because that's what we're doing. We're raising these kids to be adults and to take care of themselves and to think for themselves and to do for themselves.
Right.
So I think this empowerment piece should be a lot of people's goal. But if that's Travis's goal, then he's doing a smart thing by involving his kids. We cannot raise capable kids if we're doing everything for them. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do somebody's lunch, dinner, laundry, cleaning all the way until they're 18.
Right.
And then hope that they're capable.
That's right. Go to college and take care of yourself. You got this. You and your ramen noodles and mac and cheese.
And they'll be calling you. Can you come here and do my laundry? Can I come home and do my laundry?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I you know, that was something we've talked about, and you and I have even talked about that prior to this call, this whole idea of letting them take on that responsibility that they want, because ultimately at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff seems to come down to power struggles, right? It seems to come down to control. It comes down to, and I shouldn't even say control, but involvement. They want to be involved. They want to do these things. And as Travis seems to have found out, the more that they are involved, the more say that they have, the less of an argument or a power struggle it seems to become.
Yes, with the strong-willed kids, if you can involve them in decision-making and discussions, then I think you're going to get more cooperation, because those strong-willed kids, they like to have a voice,
right?
And we can create buy-in by including them in certain decisions. Now, here's something I do with my strong-willed child: is sometimes he asks for more freedom, or sometimes he asks for something more. I'm not sure he's ready for it yet. Right. Maybe it's a phone, maybe it's screen time, maybe it's something he's asking for, and he's like, I'm getting older, so I want more of this. And I say, okay, you know, okay, makes sense to me that you want that. Let's see how it goes. What are the parameters? Let's test this out. Let's see if you are ready. And so then I'll have a discussion with him and his mom about what this means, what it looks like, what he wants, and how it would be a success and how it would not be a success. So let's say, oh, you want a phone, okay? So what do you think our concerns about you having a phone are? Okay, good, yeah, you got that. Yep, that's right, that's a concern. That's a concern, good for you. I'm getting him to think, right?
Exactly. Yep, go in
right?
the shoes. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Can I add one more thing? Yes, we're also concerned about this. Okay. And
so here's a question.
Yeah.
Crazy time. Hey, Curtis, it's good to see you, because it's been so busy. What a crazy coincidence of a time for me to jump into a call after months of not being as highly engaged. But I had 20 minutes of free time and saw it. So my daughter's 15 and my son is 13. And my wife and I are very, there's sort of a baseline of human things we require them to do: clean their room, right? The things you're talking about, making them not become dependent leeches as they get older. But one of the things my wife and I are big about is finding things. We don't force them into things, but we find things they're passionate about, and then we try to give them as many opportunities as we can to take that as far as they want to, right? So for example, my daughter became passionate about volleyball in the 7th grade. We didn't push her into it. We don't push them into sports, but she researched and found a club she wanted to try out for.
Yep.
She, in the 7th grade, as a 12-year-old, she was interested enough to do that. And it's not cheap, Curtis, I'm sure you know, with
That's
competitive cheer. And our rule was, and in the 8th grade, she decided I'd like to try to do this in college. And so our thing was, well, if that's what you want to do, as long as you want to do it, we'll support you in that. We'll try to keep you on a competitive team. If you want to continue to do training, we're going to try to enable you to enjoy the things you're passionate about and be successful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, with my daughter, that's been great. She just won 1st overall in a state art competition, won 2nd place in state in a choir competition. She's got 3 colleges looking at her for volleyball. She's very much like my wife and all of our physician spouses. She's a high achiever.
Sounds
My
like
son,
it.
on the other hand, is probably the smartest one of all of us. But
Yeah.
and he has to still do the baseline human things.
Yep.
But the challenge is, other than Xbox, we can't get him involved or engaged. I could force him to do sports, but right now it's just not his thing.
Right.
We have to fight with him to do guitar lessons, and he'll sit down for 30 minutes. And he's smart enough and talented enough that he never looks like he's behind, even though he probably only practices 30 minutes a week. But where it's starting to become a problem is that we see my son not necessarily resenting us, but he's starting to feel like, well, you guys do more for my sister than you do for me. And it's
Right.
almost a kind of a victim. And our answer is always, no, find the thing you're passionate about. And it can't be Minecraft. I'm sorry. But the thing you're passionate about can't be Fortnite. Maybe you will be a professional gamer one day.
I was gonna say, dude, you got streamers making thousands of dollars now online with Fortnite and Minecraft.
So we're starting to find ourselves in a situation where he's not resentful, but he's just, you can tell his sentiment is, oh, well,
Yeah.
Olivia's the favorite. She gets everything. It's
Mhm.
no, it's not. Like, just, dude, if you
Yeah.
find something that you're passionate about, we will do all of this stuff for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you deal without killing his self-esteem and telling him, well, I would never, and I don't feel like he's a loser, but I wouldn't say, well, stop being a loser and do something with yourself.
Go get after it. Yeah.
Go get after it. I don't care what it is. If it's checkers, we'll buy you the best checkerboard and we'll get you the best checker AI simulator. I don't care.
Right.
But how do you make him feel engaged and like he has the same opportunity, and he's just choosing, in my opinion, not to take advantage of it.
That's a good question. Thank you for it. I think, first of all, what I'm seeing is that influence over a child or with a child comes down to connection. So, which is the case often a lot of other places, right? Leadership. We can't really influence somebody and even really talk to them if we're not connected to them. They don't feel safe with us. So, unintentionally, there's been this situation set up where he doesn't feel as important as his sister, and you have a reason for it, because you're saying, well, he's not doing anything, so you have your reason for it. But I think something that could help you connect with him and bring him on the same team as you would be to validate his experience. Even, it doesn't mean you have to agree with him.
Right.
But let's say he says, oh, well, no, she's the favorite and she's getting all this attention. Then your work is to bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Right? It's to bite your tongue for a second and say, yeah, I guess I could see what you're saying. From your perspective, okay. Yeah, I understand that. I'm sorry you feel that way. I guess that must be hard for you to feel that way. Now that might seem crazy to you, but what you've just done, if you do that, is you're bringing him back onto your team. You're letting him know that he matters, even though if his viewpoint is not like making all that much sense to you, it doesn't really matter. You're inviting him back into conversation with you, connection with you, and you're letting him know that you don't think he doesn't think that you think he's a complete idiot. And that's maybe a little bit of what he thinks right now. So that's the first thing. Get back on the same team with this guy. How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear the second thing, because I probably started the first thing, but then quickly went not defensive mode, but it was, okay, I understand why you feel that way. Give me an example of what made you feel this way. Well, you do this, this, and this. Okay. So then I would go into defensive mode and say, well, if you had something like that, right.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to hear thing two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the classic dynamic here that's unfolding. Just seems like, you want to be right. You want to tell them, hey, I'm right here. Like, I'm right. If you were doing something,
Right,
you'd get more attention. We pay attention, but you're not doing anything. And so maybe you could be factually right, but you're not being effective. And so that's what I often challenge parents with, or even people in leadership, that you might be right, but are you being effective?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we've got to let go of being right. Meet people where they're at. Don't worry about proving a point. Just put that to the side and connect with him, and then speak to him from the heart. And after you validate him and you're empathetic with him and he feels safe, you speaking from the heart is going to be much more effective. And I don't know what it could sound like for you, but for me, it might sound like something like, hey man, I love you. I love you tons. I care about you. I care about your development. I'm sorry if you've felt like less than your sister, or that you're not good enough here. If that's the case, we've made a mistake, and I want to apologize for that, because you are really important to me. Love you tons, and I only want the best for you. And if I've come at this the wrong way, then let's regroup, you and me, because you matter to me. My relationship matters. Our relationship matters, and I care a whole hell of a lot about you. So what if a kid hears that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, not much you can argue with there.
Right. Right. So
The good news is I think it's soon enough, right? Like, I certainly don't think he's got a ton of resentment. I don't think he's, he's not angry about it right now. But my wife and I were just talking about it yesterday. I can see it getting to the point where a year from now he is
sure
angry about it. So
Yep, because it can build.
Good. I'm glad you're seeing this. And then so I still think you can move towards what you and your wife think is healthy. I still think you have the opportunity to do that. But you're just seeing that the way that you're doing it right now is not very effective. So I'm offering you a different way, because he might be a little bit more sensitive. I don't know, maybe he's more sensitive than your daughter. So
that's for sure.
Okay. Right. So he, and I have a sensitive son too. And sometimes I like to be really direct with him, because my dad was really direct with me. He's like, this is the way it is, man. And so I try and do that with my son, but my son doesn't like that. So, so I still think you and your wife can move towards what you want, but just tweak the approach a bit. And so once you're on the same page as him, once he feels safe, once he gets what you're trying to do from a different perspective rather than judgmental, it's more like, nah, dude, this is what I'm trying to do. I love you. We care about you. And we think some of these extracurricular interests are really good for development. Hey, could you understand how doing some kind of extracurricular could be good for your development? Do you get what I'm saying? And he'll be much more open to this guidance and in this conversation if you connect with him. And one of the greatest things could be if he calms down, you calm down, and you're having this conversation. He says, yeah, I think I get what you're saying. That's a win. If he comes on board and he starts getting what you're saying, not from the perspective of just being told what to do, but understanding it. Like, oh, I kind of get what you're doing. Yeah, I kind of understand what you mean by the extracurricular thing and developing me as a person. Yeah, I see why you're interested in that. That would be a huge win. And then you can work with him from there. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad that you see this. Now we want to work with you. I don't want to pressure you. You don't have to become all state in anything, really. So this is about just developing ourselves. And you can talk about things that you do to develop yourself. This is what mom does to develop herself outside of her work. This is what I do. It's kind of what we do as a family. We like being well-rounded people. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hey, you like Minecraft? That's cool. I think it's fun. By the way, don't shit on him for Minecraft, because I used to shit on my son for Minecraft. And then I realized, what if I like something kind of frivolous, whatever it was, and somebody kept on shitting on me about it? Like, that's not, the thing that you're doing, stupid, Drew. And I thought of it. Go ahead.
So about 5 weeks ago, I noticed a $500 credit on our Microsoft account.
Ooh.
Because he had played a Fortnite tournament and won.
The credit. Oh, wow.
Oh, credit.
Yeah.
Oh, so he won and got the credit to the account.
Yeah, so he registered for this tournament. One day he was like, Dad, you know, Saturday from 6 to 9, can I just play video games and be left alone? I was like, yeah, okay, sounds okay. And then lo and behold, he was asked to be in a Fortnite tournament. He won the tournament and won $500 in Xbox credit.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this obviously sounds like a passion for him. My son's crazy into Minecraft.
right.
And at the beginning, I was like rolling my eyes. And he's watching guys on YouTube playing Minecraft on YouTube.
I can't stand that. Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, how stupid is this?
Oh,
what are we doing?
Why did I buy the game if you're just going to watch other kids
watch
play
other people play it?
And I'm thinking to myself, with the childhood that I had, I was outside lots. And like, I think the last thing that I would want to do is watch somebody else play a video game. So anyway, how I tweaked my behavior so that I had more influence and more pull, I stopped shitting on him about the video games. And I took a little bit of an interest in them. And I even played Minecraft with him a couple times. And he shows me some videos he made about Minecraft, and I take an interest. And we do limit screen time. It's not like willy-nilly, but I'm not going to deny him his pleasure, because I have my own silly pleasures. And I'm not going to deny it as an opportunity to connect with him and build relationship capital. And that's what it does. So that's another opportunity for you to connect with him, is take a little bit of interest, even though it seems stupid. Take a little bit of an interest in that. Tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about the Fortnite. How did you win? What was your strategy? Can you show me? Can I watch you? Like, check this out.
Right.
Like, I'm wondering if you say to him, hey, do you mind if I watch you one time and you just like kind of explain to me what you're doing? I'm interested in you. I'm interested in what you're doing. How do you think he'd feel? I'm not sure if he can come back on again, but yeah.
Yep.
It would probably shock him.
Yes.
And then the hard part would be focusing on it for more than 5 minutes without being that, oh yeah, right. What'd you say? Huh? Oh yeah, that was cool, man. That was, yeah, cool.
Right. But you know, if you understand where you're going, if you understand the purpose of it,
yep,
the reason why you'd be doing, you don't have to do it for a half an hour. 10 minutes is fine, but don't be 10 minutes like, oh yeah. Be 10 minutes like, okay, what's going on? Tell me everything. I want to know. Buckle down for 10 minutes. and give him your presence, and you will get back love, respect, presence from him.
Yeah. We may have a Minecraft date tonight or tomorrow.
There you go.
Dude, Tim, that's awesome, man. That is good stuff. Look, I wish my girls would enter a competition and win $500. Look, it'd be a whole nother conversation.
So did that help, Timothy?
Yeah, I think so. It's just nice to get someone else's perspective
Okay.
on it, for sure.
That's good.
I'm glad it helped. It's not easy. I think what it boils down to is that we have some interest for our kids. They tend to be perfectly normal. They tend to be healthy. The intuition that we have is pretty good as parents. For the most part, I talk to people, their intuition is good. It's mostly about how we're doing it.
Exactly.
That's what matters. Are you being effective? Are you encouraging and motivating in the right direction? Is it working? And then if it's not, and you're getting stuck, then you got to ask yourself, okay, how do I change my approach? Because the current approach isn't working that well.
That's right. How can I do better here? So, hey, Drew, on that perspective, because we're here at the hour, I want to respect your time, and I know some guys have to jump off. So I wanted to thank you, man. This is great. I love that we got to get into a real life example. And Tim, thank you for sharing that. Travis, thank you for sharing your experience, and the other guys that chimed in. So guys, if y'all enjoyed this, if you all want more, because what I love about this, it's great to read a book, it's great to listen to a webinar or whatever and kind of get that thought process on being the parent you want to be. But what I really love is this right here. Okay, here's my scenario. Here's what I did. I got some results, but it wasn't quite the results I was looking for. Is there some things I could tweak, a different way I could approach it, maybe a different way I could have said it, whatever. I love that we have that opportunity. And so I've talked with Drew. He's willing to come into DMD Plus as one of our coaches, do a limited short-term session where we actually sit down, do a live call like this week by week. We're talking about a 2 or maybe 3 month session where we go through his book and we bring up these actual conversations and talk through them on a weekly basis. So if you are interested in something like that, if you feel like you've gotten some value from this conversation and you'd like more, you want to be part of that hands-on weekly conversation on how we can actually work on our parenting, I want you to go and visit our DMD Plus site, dadsmarriedtodoctors.com/DMD Plus, and it will be included in your membership. So for $25 a month or the $200 a year, you can already get Plus as you already get access to this limited time opportunity where we're going to talk with Drew on a weekly basis and have access to that. But Drew, I know there's some that maybe don't like the group setting, or maybe their issues are a little bit more private and they want more one-on-one. So Drew, I'd love for you to share how folks can reach out to you, work with you personally, and maybe even talk with you more one-on-one if they're interested in that route.
Yeah, thank you, Curtis. Yeah, sometimes people like to do one-on-one work, privacy reasons, or they just work better one-on-one with somebody. They like the attention, or they want to accelerate their growth. That's okay. That's understandable. And I do one-on-one coaching with people. And I coach parents, I coach dads, I coach moms as well, I coach families. And so if you're interested in that, if you think that focusing on your parenting, the way that you're interacting with your kids would help you in your parenting, reach out to me. You can ask me a question. You can ask me how I work with people. Like Curtis said, I also have that book, Parenting for a Peaceful Home. You can find it on Amazon. And you can find my website at drewtupper.com. DREWTUPPER.com. Find me on Facebook too. I got a picture that looks like this on Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm Drew Tupper on Facebook, and I appreciate everybody that's here on this call, everybody that's watching. I think parenting is super important. The way we parent shapes our children. It's really important with regard to our kids' development, and we have a lot of impact. We have a lot of say in that, and what we do and how we do it matters.
Mhm. Drew, thank you so much. I see Ian has been active in the comments, and Ian, I always appreciate you, buddy, for sharing and commenting there. It's interesting, as I've spoken with you, Drew, and as I've been talking with the guys in Plus for the last year and some change. It's been a little bit over a year now. One of the things I've started to realize and understand more and more is that my expectations, especially when they're faulty, my incorrect expectations have seemed to be what leads to a majority of my unhappiness. It seems that my expectations were that when they were in the wrong place, or they weren't backed by a good process or a proper mindset, that's what led to a lot of the breakdowns of communication between the kids, between my wife, or even just my viewing of the situation. And so what I love about what you talked about here and what we do within DMD, and especially over in Plus, is focusing on those proper mindsets, those proper expectations, and what's a way that we can make sure that we're all on the same page about making those things match up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that way of looking at it. And I love getting on the same team as my wife and my kids. I don't like the feeling of having a fractured family. I don't like the feeling of having anger and animosity in my home. I like having a nice connected home, and we feel like we're supporting each other. It feels like teamwork. That's what I strive for in my home.
Amen. Well, there you go. Well, Drew, thank you so much for your time today. Fellas, thank you for your time. As I said, it's May the 4th be with you. So go out there, be strong, be ready for Mother's Day. Doesn't mean you have to buy a bunch of stuff, but make sure you do acknowledge her and what she does and what she brings to the table, and what all that she does for the family. And then, of course, you know, she'll reciprocate on Father's Day. But regardless, guys, go out there and be the great guys that you are, and we will see you on the next call. Thank you.
All right.
Let's see.